Hey everybody, my name is Journey Green.
I'm Tori Summers.
And I'm Tatiana Battle.
And this is Round Table Talk. We have two very special guests, and I want them to introduce themselves. Starting with Erica, you can introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Johnson, and I'm a registered nurse, product of Prairie View A&M University, and I am a mental health nurse.
Hey y'all, I'm Najlah Rashid, and I'm the president and founder of Sanity Sistas, which is a mental health organization on campus.
If y'all haven't guessed it by now, this is May, so we're going to be talking about mental health awareness. So that's what this discussion is going to be about today.
I just want to ask first and foremost, how have you guys been doing during this whole quarantine? How has your mental health been?
Well, I'll start. Well, mine has been good. Nothing has changed in my life as my schedule due to COVID-19 because, like you say, I am a frontliner. I'm a nurse, so right now we're in high demand. I've become a homeschool teacher of 3, though, in the process of my kids. But my mental health been good. I mean, I think this put a lot of things into perspective for people about things that we do take for granted and then enjoying the simple pleasures of life. And as a mental health nurse, I know that it's very important to take mindful moments for yourself. Even in the hustle and bustle of it all, you have to take a little time out for yourself, whether it's in taking a shower or just cleaning out your purse or something. You have to do something for yourself just to gain your mental state and stay afloat.
Yeah, I actually, at first I was kind of thrown off by the virus, but now I feel like I'm actually appreciating the time off. As she was saying, I feel like I have more time to just relax and like do the things I actually want to do instead of being on a set schedule every week. So I'm kind of enjoying quarantine a little bit. So
That's really good to hear from the both of you. I know that May is Mental Health Week, Health Awareness Month, excuse me. And so it's crazy that we're in the situation we're in during this time, knowing that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I know that mental health is really, really big when it comes to decision making and just simply just waking up and doing your daily activities. And so we're just going to go into a little bit of discussion about how important it really is and the things that it can affect. So I'm just going to toss it to Journey and see what the question she has for one of y'all to answer.
Okay. This is really just, open question. How did you guys get introduced to mental health, that mental health field, or interested in mental health in general? How did y'all get introduced in it, or what made you interested in it?
well, I kind of got myself into it, I guess you could say, because I feel like in the Black community especially, it's not very highlighted. So I kind of self-diagnosed myself once I started seeing patterns in the way like I would just deal with my emotions or just how I would deal with sadness, because I feel like it's not really, well, we're not really taught how to deal with our emotions in a healthy way necessarily, or all of us we don't have the luxury of being taught by our parents. And luckily my parents, you know, they did the best that they could like with what they knew, but even still I feel like sometimes they fell short because everyone knows what they need personally. So I feel like that's how I got introduced to it, by looking up symptoms that I have and just things that I faced that I really couldn't put into words until I looked up the meaning of mental health and what exactly depression and anxiety was.
Okay, well, for myself, I guess I started off as a psych tech when I was in nursing school at Prairie View, and so I enjoyed it, but I like every part of nursing. I'm a people person. I think to work in mental health, you have to, it's beyond just being a nurse per se, like what you people think of nursing, medical. You have to have social skills. You have to be able to relate or, you know, meet people where they are and have a good understanding of individuals. So it's very rewarding. Right now I work with children mostly. I work with the child and adolescent population and some young adults. So I just find it very rewarding in the end that you can be able to help people and let people understand. And as Najlah, am I right, was saying that it's not very, well, now, now everybody, celebrities and everyone are focusing on mental health now. So it's becoming more prevalent in our Black society and in our communities. But originally, they'll say, oh, she had a nervous breakdown, or she got bad nerves, or they're just bad. So knowing that we can shed light on people, and it's not just the Black community, it's different, like it's a lot of the brown communities. So it's the Asian population, Hispanic population. It was usually like Europeans mostly sought out mental health. So just seeing the growth of it and more people reaching out and willing to get help, disclose their problems, and let them know that just because you have a problem don't mean that you're not a strong Black woman or you're not a strong Black man, or letting parents know just because their kids are dealing with something don't mean that they was bad parents, or just because you had a good upbringing mean that you're supposed to be doing so well. So it's just education and educating the people, and then seeing them overcome some of these obstacles and challenges that they're having.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why a lot of people, especially at HBCUs, are going through it, because coming from a culture where we really don't focus on mental health a lot, I feel like us going back home and being around these parents who weren't brought up to realize that mental health is a real thing, like it's kind of draining. So coming home from college and we knowing those things, learning those things from going to college classes, and coming back trying to express that to our parents who grew up not believing in it, like it's kind of hard. So I feel like this quarantine is kind of like putting a lot of people on edge, and not a lot of people know. So it's a lot when it comes to mental health, especially in the Black community. To me, it's like definitely a conversation that needs to be opened up and needs to be had. I'm glad like it's been opening up a lot lately, especially in social media, Black Twitter, shout out, because we really be opening up that conversation, that door for the conversation to happen. So yeah.
And to piggyback off what Tori was saying, like, that's why I think I chose to stay on campus, because a lot of people have been asking, like, why are you still at PV? But I went home for like 2 weeks while we had the second week of spring break when they first extended it. And it was fine, but as Tori said, like, being around my family and stuff, it can be kind of triggering just being around people who are in Erica or Miss Johnson. That's your name?
It's fine.
Like, okay. But just knowing, like, I don't know how to explain it, but some older people, because I think mental health has changed like over the years, but a lot of older people are stuck in their ways. So it can be even in minor interactions, like talking to older people, and like they'll dismiss your feelings, like simply like just small stuff like that can be really triggering. So that's why I took the time to come like to my own house at PV, because I have more space and like I just don't feel as on edge.
Yeah, because you hear like a lot of older Black people say depression is for white people or for rich people, so you hear them say little things like that to make it seem like as if it's not real in the Black community. So
or go pray about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say most Black people rely on religion versus, medication. So like it's the education piece, and even with parents not understanding their kids and minimizing their feelings or what they're going through. Sometimes it takes education for them as well. And education not is like, well, let me tell you about mental health. And I am sad. And just because they don't understand it, because then it becomes a debate. And so you don't want it to become it's like, having dinner or cooking. Mom, sometimes I feel X, Y, and Z. And then everything. So like I teach my kids and I teach the parents where I work that. So I know y'all heard about probably coping skills if you dealt with mental health. So coping skills are something that you do, something you like, but something to distract you so you can take time to think more clearly, not act so impulsively. But I kind of tell the people, for a Black mama, if she's saying, girl, you sit down here and this and you talking about your coping skills to walk away, you're going to get snatched back. So, it's education. You have to kind of teach them, like, these are things to help people de-escalate, to get their thoughts together. And like when you're talking to your parents, even when you're an adult, it's good to use I statements, because then they do feel like that you're kind of badgering them, that you're kind of saying that they wasn't good parents, by saying that you had depression is a reflection on their parenting, and it's not. Just like if I get hypertension, it's not a reflection on your parenting. It's just something that I have. It's a diagnosis. It requires medication. As long as I'm on medication, I'm doing fine. When I get off, my blood pressure might go up. So it's the same thing with certain mental health. You need medication to keep you stable, to keep you balanced. And then when you get off, you may have some problems. They may be like, oh, you fine now, baby. You don't need it. You happy. But that's not true. You're happy because you're on your medication. So like I say, it's all an education piece. And I believe in prayer too, prayer work, but they just let them know faith without works is dead. So the Lord invented these things, and he this medication is here for a reason, and these doctors, they're here for a reason. But also, speaking about mental health, I think it's good for everybody to reach out and get it. I believe in therapy.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, like therapy is good. Yeah, it's very good if you need it. Some people are getting it and reaching back way far, so now they getting some depression because they done brought up some issues that, you know, your mind do have a way of healing itself sometime, but I do think people should reach out to therapy when they feel like it's a need. And that can be in my therapy is hanging out with my girlfriends, you know, so that's my therapeutic outreach, and my relief is talking to my friends. But you just have to have somebody. You don't want to isolate, because like if you feel like your parents don't believe in you, you know, they minimizing you, and then you go and be in your apartment alone, and then you're isolating, and then you're dealing with your thoughts and everything by yourself, then that can bring on a whole another issue.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, like finding some coping mechanisms.
So how do you start up the conversation to your parents, you know, hey, I'm depressed, hey, you know, without them being so dismissive? Like, how do you bring up the conversation? How do you spark the conversation?
Yeah, I feel like I'm very vocal. Like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've been more and more vocal with my parents. So I feel like a lot of people, and I notice this in like people around me too, like they'll be scared to say things to their parents. But I think it's all about the way that you say things too. Like if I'm having a conversation with my mom and she says something that makes me feel dismissed, or like if I didn't feel heard or something, I'll point it out right then. Because I feel like when you bring up things like after the fact, that's probably why they feel like, oh, well, you're saying I'm a bad parent. Like, I like to catch people in action so I could tell them, like, this is why I feel this type of way. Like, this is how this thing that you do makes me feel.
And that's good as long as you can stay calm. I tell people never talk about it in anger. So if y'all having some issue and you be like, that's why I hate you, or that's why I want to kill myself, but they'll be like, girl, you just want attention, you know. So then it's kind of, you're minimizing it yourself because you're doing it while you're angry. So if you can have a discussion when it's calm, or mom, can I talk to you? Just some simple, you know, when they know the playing ground, the field is the level that you're not trying to prove to me that I'm wrong and who's right. So I think that's when it's a good time to bring it up, just in normal conversation. And people who can't be verbal, who think their parents don't, writing has never failed anyone. I'm not talking about a text. I'm saying get out some pen and paper and really write your parents a letter, and trust me, because they have time to process it. So when they reading that letter, they don't have, you know, because sometimes when you get ready to talk, and so like I start talking and you start talking and I forget what I wanted to say, so I don't get nowhere, and it does become an argument. Pen and paper never fail nobody. You can get out a letter, write to your mom, your parents, your dad, whoever, your friend. This is how I've been feeling. I just, you know, it's hard for me to talk about, but I want you to know. And trust me, that usually cause them to come reach out to you. Because no parent, regardless of how much they minimize, I'm a parent myself, how much you may minimize, girl, you want attention, go sit down. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Nobody wants their kid to go through that. So when they know that you're serious and they can take it serious, they are going to reach out and try to help you.
And I think like dividing is what makes the problem bigger. Like I don't feel like it's any generation is wrong for how they learn how to deal with their emotions. I just think that like our parents, they weren't dealt with the same cards that we had, and you know they didn't have like all the resources that we have in social media to like look at the stuff. So I feel like they just kind of had to live through their emotions more so, and I feel like they're learning. So it's really like a learning experience in teaching them. And
I would say
everybody really.
To piggyback off of Najlah, I would say, like, do you think it's because of social media that we have the mental health problems being kind of being dismissed? Do you think it's because of social media? Because a lot of times the social media that we like indulge in can either heighten or kind of like dismiss our problems, because a lot of people make jokes on Twitter about mental health like all the time. And so I feel like when you're exposed to so much of that, I feel like that doesn't help the problem. I feel like it makes it worse. Do you think social media makes mental health worse?
I don't think so. I feel like that's only one side of social media. So because my social media feed is full of people that say, girl, I go to therapy. Let me give you this good therapist. Because we need to talk about it. Like, you know, so like, I feel like that's one side of social media. But on another side, I see people who say like, oh, you go through that too? Or, you know, like a group of people that say like, oh, we went through that same problem. Like, you know, and so I feel like this generation, we're kind of learning that, you know, we need to be more inclusive with each other about mental awareness, about mental health. So like, there are people who do make those jokes with the dark humor, but on the other end, there are people who are like use social media to their advantage, and they utilize it, and they use it to seek out help.
But I also feel that social media probably does add on a bit of depression to our generation. Just everybody comparing themselves to people on social media, comparing themselves to celebrities, and thinking they're supposed to be at a certain level and comparing themselves to different people. I think it does add on depression.
Yeah, all made very valid points, and so it's kind of like a two-headed sword. So what I tell them, a lot of people knowledge is heightened because of social media, because this generation stay on social media so much. So it's also an avenue to help. And you know, like they have all the self-help groups, you know, they have a lot of groups and stuff you can join, as they were saying, to help you with your mental health. Also, what the parents understand. So what some of the problems that you go through and that kids are going through now are problems that everybody went through. Everybody been bullied. Bullying has been around since the beginning of time. Social media has made it worse because now you can't get away from bullying. So if you got bullied at school, you was at school from 8 to 3. And when you went home, you was with your family. But now you get on social media, on Twitter, I'm going to jump her at the bus stop. And so everybody there, then they get a video on YouTube. So everybody watching it, go kill yourself. You know, they get these messages. So sometimes it just won't end. So that's how social media also has come to be harmful in a way, especially in effect of bullying. Like bullying has taken a whole nother level with social media. And as to piggyback on what Journey said, that's another thing with education, and I had to teach kids about confidence and being content with yourself, because nobody is blasting on social media what they're doing wrong. I'm not getting on social media said I made straight F's this year, I got kicked out of school, I was in the hospital, y'all know I did kush, I went crazy. Nobody is talking about those things on social media. It's gonna be like, girl, I got my unit, I went and got my head, look what he did, I'm doing this. Only thing that people are putting on social media are good things, and until people understand that, so you comparing yourself sometimes to a fantasy. Because as soon as I turn this off and I pull the wig off and eyelashes pop off, there's nothing left. I don't have, you know, so people can, it's a fantasy. Some people live in a fantasy. What you think about them on social media is not even true. So you have to be, you know, you have to have some confidence and be content with yourself and stop, because that is the issue. People do compare. Oh, look at their house. Oh, they go on vacation. They didn't know that they had no food in the house. They don't have no friends. They don't. So that's the two-headed sword that I think that social media presents. But definitely the bullying is heightened to the 100th power with social media, because if you own it and it take one person not to like you, tell everybody where the fight gonna be, they'll film the fight, they're gonna take you, they never get away from it.
I have a
people
question
behind
for all
the
of us.
screen.
So because right now I know that a lot of people were worried about this COVID-19 pandemic because of the fact that a lot of people are going home from college, or whether they're in elementary, middle school, high school, and they're going home to people who verbally abuse them, mentally abuse them, and even worse, sexually abuse them. And so if somebody at home doesn't have somebody to voice their problems to, and doesn't have access to therapy, what would you say they should do to try to get that out of their system, so they can just get it out, so they don't feel trapped?
I would write, like she said, but I feel like you can't even just say writing, because like if somebody's getting abused, then they write about it and they get abused again that day. Like it's not gonna just transform everything. But I think you should find a way to voice your feelings. Like, you should have one person that can be like a listening ear for you. And I have made a video about like dealing with mental health. And I think Erica said this earlier. Like, I think the main thing is you should always have one person to talk to and never just isolate yourself when you're going through mental health issues, because that's like the easiest way to just drown in whatever it is that you're going through, because then nobody else knows what you're going through either. So I feel like a listening ear can always help, like, but they also have to be a trusted person that you know can hear you out. And I also said in my video that I feel like people, they need to know their friends, and they also need to be clear when they're just trying to vent or when they want advice. Like, if you have something on your mind and you want to come to your friends and talk to about it, you should tell them like, hey, I have something on my mind and I just want to say this. Like, I'm not necessarily looking for advice. So I feel like that can make people that are dealing with mental health or anxiety feel more comfortable coming to you about their issues, because they don't feel so like attacked. Because a lot of people, and myself included, like, I find myself giving unsolicited advice. And like, I feel you have to watch that, because it could just make people feel a type of way when they're coming to you, talking to you about their deepest, darkest issues.
Yeah. And as far as reaching out to someone, if you're in an abusive home or things like that, it varies, because at different levels, you know, is what you're capable of doing. Of course, someone in elementary school getting abused don't have the ability to leave home. So that's why it's very important as educators, nurses, or even if it's a neighbor and you suspect that you can call and get wellness checks done. So, like, if you see a kid that appear abused, you can call 311 to your local police and tell them you just want a wellness check done on someone. And I mean, like, the police will go to the home and check on the kid. As far as older kids, it's a lot of resources that you can reach out to, hotlines to help you with this. And as far as my older population, whether it's from high school or especially like college kids, like, usually have cars, but for everyone it's good to make a safety plan. So a safety plan is just like something you can write down. So usually when people get into the state of where they feel like they're having an episode or they're becoming real depressed, you really don't think clearly. So a safety plan is something that you can create. And you don't have, I mean, you can go on the internet and find a safety plan, but you can make it yourself. So it's things that I can do to help distract myself. Places I can go, a person I can call. You actually have to put their name. So if I put Journey Green, I put her phone number. That's the person I'm gonna reach out to. The place I know I can go is to where. And you put all this out and you put these phone numbers. So whenever you start feeling like that, it's just your go-to. It's your Bible. That's your Holy Grail. You go to this paper and everything you need is listed right there. So you don't have to do much thinking, because your thought process is not as clear when you're going through an episode or you feeling that way. So that's a good thing for everyone. And then just reach out to someone who helped. But, and like, I want to say it's different for different people, because a kid can reach out to someone and CPS show up at their home and then they're not taken away. They're going to be abused at a greater extent. So it's reaching out for help. Have a safe word maybe with someone. Like you said, if you have a trusted person, you can have a safe word to know that I'm being harmed, I need to get out and reach out for help. And like, it's mental health hospitals, they take from ages 4 all the way up. So and get the help you need. If you have to call the police and tell them that, I want to kill myself or I need help, the police can help. They'll bring you to the hospital. So it's just knowing the avenues that you can take.
Wow. Yeah.
That's really good advice. Like, the safe plan, that's good advice.
Yeah, you can do a safety plan and a wellness check just to check on someone. I haven't heard from this person. I suspect abuse. Can somebody just go to the house and check on them? And, you can tell them. And I think it's a kid that's been abused, so you might want to see the kid, not just go knock on the door and see how they doing, but you actually want to see the kid.
Yeah, that's real good advice, because I know, like you said, a lot of people aren't in their right mind when they're having like a breakdown, mental breakdown, psychotic breakdown. So like, they need that safety plan to look back on and say, okay, this is who I wrote down in case of emergency times like this. So that's really cool. Like,
Yeah, because most of the time, if you're going through something, I mean, just think back. Even if you got a bad grade in school, you had a bad breakup with a boyfriend, you're really not thinking clear. And what you're thinking, probably, if you did it, you would be in big trouble, you know, or things like that. So sometimes you need things to bring you back, to help you focus, to give you insight on what you need to do. Because that's how sometimes people take their lives and things like that. Because usually when you're doing that, you're not thinking clearly at that time. If you would have waited 10 more minutes and thought about it a little longer, sometime what happened wouldn't have happened. It's the impulsive thoughts that get us in trouble. Like I say, every suicide is not an intentional suicide.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, because I feel like whenever, it's so many misconceptions about mental health, but one of them I feel like is, as soon as you say like you've dealt with anxiety or depression, people automatically think that you tried to kill yourself, or that you're a survivor, that you used to cut, and like all these things. And I personally, I never got there, but I feel like Erica was saying, it necessarily wasn't a safety plan, but writing has always been like my way to just voice my feelings. Even how she was saying, write a letter to your parents. Like, I didn't even realize I used to always write letters to my mom whenever I just felt like I couldn't express myself like all the way that I needed to. So I feel like it's just important to like know that, and to also, when I was talking about the trusted people, know the people that are in your circle as well, because the people that are around you can also be triggering. And that's why I feel like it needs to be a certain trusted friend that you're telling your business to. Because you could tell them like something traumatic that just happened to you, and then they could say something triggering that just will disturb your peace. And you don't need to be around people like that, especially when you're dealing with like anxiety and stuff.
And if you don't have no one to talk to, the writing works a lot of ways. I also tell people like they don't want to talk to nobody. Maybe I don't want people to know my business. You know, like I really don't trust nobody with this, but I need to get it off. Write a note to yourself. Just write everything down. When you write, you are releasing, regardless if you know it or not. Yeah, so you write and you release, and then you don't want nobody to know about it. You rip it up, you throw it in the trash, you burn it. So you're getting rid of it. So that's what I tell people. It's just like an analogy. So I'm letting it out, I'm writing it down, and I'm dealing with it. I'm tearing it up, and I'm throwing it out. So I'm releasing it, and I'm getting rid of that. So it's just getting it out your system. People like, and I don't want people to know I cry. Well, go in the shower, wash your hair. Everything get wet in the shower. So when you come out and your face all wet, you was crying, but they don't know you just took a shower. I mean, you have to know what you need to do for yourself to cope. So that's what I tell you. Write it up, throw it in the trash.
That's definitely one of my coping mechanisms.
So how would you?
So it's just like journaling.
Yeah.
How would you advise? How would you advise someone to get out of a depressive state without medication, without going to the hospital? Is it possible to get out of a depressive state without, going through those measures? Like, how can you go about the steps to do that?
So when you said depressive state, so it's two different things. That's just like saying my heart rate is high now. I was just running, or my heart rate is high all the time. Depression is a diagnosis. A diagnosis usually requires medication. So you can do things. You can go through therapy. You can talk. But sometimes when you're in therapy, you have to get medication, because even therapy, it brings things up. And when you bring those things up, you start having those same feelings, and the feelings are stronger because you're dealing with them at that time. So it's a difference in being sad and being depressed. So you can be sad, and I think you can overcome sadness. And I don't want to say that you cannot overcome depression without medication, but depression is a diagnosis, and most diagnoses require medications. Like I say, it's an imbalance. Just like you would treat diabetes, or you would treat hypertension. You wouldn't tell nobody with cancer, you know what, go pray about it. You know what, go pray about it, wait on, let's see what happens. And I know we do say that, and wait on the Lord, and I have faith, and I believe in all that. But like I said, faith without works is dead. No, you're going to go get treatment, and why are you praying? So I think the same thing about depression. Depression is a state that you feel like you just can't move out. You don't have that bounce back. Like your resiliency is gone. So like to be sad, okay, I did a whole paper on it. To being sad, it's like a ball, like you need to be resilient. So when the ball is flat and deflated, it has no bounce back, but you need to be able to bounce back. So that's the difference in being sad. You usually might be down for a little bit, but you used to have your bounce back. It may take a couple of days. With depression, you just feel like you can't bounce back. You don't have the drive to do much. You know, getting up every day is hard. So with things like that, a lot of times you do need medication because you need that balance. You need something to help you get over the hump. And the same thing with suicide. People think, oh, I'm suicidal. Girl, you was just laughing. You ain't suicidal. I just seen you at the party last night. And so that's one thing. It's the perfect form for that, for people to understand what suicide is. So I can have suicidal ideations. I can have suicidal thoughts. Don't mean that I want to act on them. Don't mean that I even have a plan. But people that's suicidal, that lives with them every day. It's always back in the back in their mind. It's always a thought every day. Sometimes the urge is just more than today than it was on yesterday. Like you say, you may have a trigger that made me want to do it, but it's never usually a day go by that people that are truly suicidal don't think about killing themselves. They may have deterrents. They may have their family. They may have their kids. They may have things that they want to live for, but never does that thought pretty much kind of go away. But it's just sometimes it's stronger than others that cause them to act on it. And that's like an education piece, because a lot of people are like, girl, they lying, they not suicidal. I just seen them, they was at the club, they was doing this, they was doing that. But it doesn't mean that didn't cross their mind.
So can you have suicidal thoughts and not be depressed?
My bad.
And not being in depression. Can you have suicidal thoughts but not being in depression?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can be psychotic, you can have anxiety. It's different things to make you want to kill yourself. I don't have to be depressed sometimes to want to out myself. You know, so it could be different. Some people are suicidal, they hearing voices and they tired of it, and the voices tell them to kill themselves. So it could be different things. But it's suicidal, you know, it just looked different. Most people think, oh, they was sad, you know. So it's kind of mixed too. You can be suicidal without a diagnosis of depression, let me say. But usually you are sad, you are down, you're at wit's end, you hopeless, you helpless. And so this is the only way I think I can get by. And that's by just taking my life. And then I don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
So
like you said, I feel like you said, a lot of people don't know the difference between it, like being suicidal and just having suicidal thoughts and stuff. And a lot of people like diagnose themselves. Because I know a lot of people who think they bipolar and just like, baby, you're not bipolar, you just emotional unstable, like, you know. So I feel like, people need to really educate themselves on mental health and like the exact causes of what can trigger them and everything of that sort. So what I want to ask you and Naj before we close out is, what are some of the resources they can, like people who are battling mental health or who are in quarantine and being mentally, verbally, emotionally abused, like where can they reach out and who can they talk to about it?
Well, like she was saying earlier, I know the hotlines, but I just don't like to say the hotlines because, as she also was saying, I feel like some people they aren't comfortable yet, especially when you are just realizing that you might have some mental health issues. You don't always just want to go talk to somebody on a hotline. So I don't think that would be the best way for people that don't have somebody directly. But honestly, I feel like my biggest advice would just be getting it out somehow. Because I feel like the most important thing about mental health is acknowledging it. Because when I first realized that I had anxiety or that I feel like I was depressed, like I said, I self-diagnosed myself because, like, I would say high school is when I really started to tap into mental health and stuff like that, because bullying was really the force behind me getting more into mental health, because I don't think it's something that people take seriously. So whenever I would tell people, like, of course, they'd be like, girl, like, you're pretty, like, why do you feel like that, or why do you believe that? But like, it's not helping the 50 million emotions that are going around in my head. So I feel like acknowledging it is the most important thing, because back then I used to think crying was weak and like I didn't like to talk about my feelings necessarily in front of people. And looking back, it didn't really help me at all. So I just wouldn't isolate. That's like the main thing. But I feel like it's situational with mental health. So you can't really, I mean, I can tell somebody what they should do, but I feel like the most important thing is just talking about it. Whoever that is to you, or whatever avenue you want to go about it, is your choice. But I feel like you should definitely just get it off your chest so it doesn't just consume you.
Yeah. So it's how they reach out for help is very individualized, as she said. Each person may go about it different, but if you're at the point that you do feel like you want to kill yourself, harm yourself, then you need to call 911 and get help immediately. And never take for granted that what somebody's saying is not true. Never minimize the thought that somebody want to kill themselves, they want to hurt themselves, because it's always better to be safe than sorry. I say I would prefer to call somebody on my friend who said she wanted to kill herself and didn't, than not to, and then I have to go to her funeral. So it is numerous hotlines that you can, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. I don't have any. You, like I said, you can reach out to 911 if it's an emergency. If you feel like somebody want to kill themselves, even if you're on the phone with them, social media, call 911, tell them where they are, send them to the location immediately, as soon as possible. Never call someone's bluff. Otherwise, you can Google it. It's numerous hotlines. It's psychiatric hospitals in like the Houston area that you can go to. You can go as a walk-in to get help. You can reach out to your primary care physician, which can also refer you to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, whatever it is that you need to see. Who you need to see to get the help that you need. And be verbal. And like you're saying, everyone is not going to take you serious, which can be a trigger. So that's why therapy is good, because therapy is usually a non-biased person. I know people like to reach out to your friends, but like you say, sometimes friends advise, and it's not always the advice you need. A therapist is there to listen and to kind of walk you through the steps on yourself, for yourself. Because someone telling you what, we raised two different ways. So me telling you how I'm a girl, now you need to do this. It may not be for you. And then you feeling more pressure, like, oh Lord, I didn't tell him my boyfriend was cheating. She telling him I need to leave him. I don't want to leave him. That's not really what I wanted to do. So now you want to look strong and don't look so weak in front of your friends, but really I didn't want to leave my boyfriend. I was just telling her that, this is what I found out. So, when you have conflicting problems like that, you need to talk. I do believe in speaking to a non-biased person is good. Then, based on HIPAA laws and things like that, you don't have to worry about your business being spread around. And so, it kind of limits a lot of things. And a lot of people have it through their jobs, like employee assistant programs. You probably have it at the school. You probably have counselors and things like that. And it's taken very seriously. So I'll just say reach out. And everybody is not going to have a diagnosis. You may just need somebody to talk to, So, and don't be so scared that I don't want to go because I don't want them to say I'm crazy, things like that. And then some stuff is temporary. You can take some medication, you can see a therapist, and then you can move on with your life.
And everybody's not going to reach out also. So I feel like if you have a friend that like you said, I feel like you should never call anybody's bluff. If your friend is saying things like that are just concerning, I feel like you should reach out to them, because you never know, like you could have saved their life before they did something that they can never take back.
And I know some people, they say, music or art is their way of, expressing themselves and getting out. But do you think that really,
Oh, let me answer that one.
Music. Like, I love me some music and art. Yeah. Music helps me so much. Like, that's actually my favorite coping mechanism, I would say. Like, when I'm sad, if I'm feeling any type of way, I'm going to go listen to a song and just think about it.
But let me tell you about music as far as coping skills. And let's get this clear right here. Music is a good outlet. And I'm pretty sure any one of y'all can relate. If you want to relax, you go put on some jazz, put on some R&B. If you finna go to the club, you finna put on some hip hop. Your body responds to the music you hear. So, with that being said, if you upset and you ready to go off on somebody and I'm gonna get them, you don't go put on your hip hop, tear the club up and what we gonna do, because you're gonna react a different way. If you're depressed, you don't go put on Anita Baker and Tony Braxton, because you're gonna slit your wrist. So your music should not reflect your mood when you're using it for coping. Your music can kind of be opposite of your mood. So if you're depressed, you might want to put on some music that you're going to dance, something that's going to get you up, get you to move. And if you on 1,000, you need to put on some music that's going to bring you down. Your body do respond to that music. So that's what I try to teach people. You know, like you can't be mad and then you go put on this and you ready to go. You know, you going all in then. So music. I'm sorry.
Words are powerful.
Yes. Words and rhythm. It's the beat that gets you moving. You know, like when you finna go out and you put on that music, you know, y'all be, you know, yeah. So you have to be careful with what you listen to, because what you put in is what you get out. That's real.
Yep.
So when you're using it as a coping mechanism, it needs to kind of be opposite of what you're feeling.
As far as the art though, I think that's a good it's just quiet time. Anything you can do, like yoga. I know a lot of my friends like to do yoga outside because it's peaceful. Like I feel like you should even if you're listening to somebody that has slower music, like for example, I like to listen to Janae, but all her music is not like sad. So if I'm sad,
It's definitely not sad.
I'm not gonna go listen to Wasted Love freestyle. Like I'm finna go listen to BS or, you know, Happiness Over Everything, like something that's gonna uplift my mood. Because whenever I used to listen to sad music, I just used to be more sad. Like it didn't really do anything for my
Yeah,
mood.
that's how it works. Yeah, and using your hands as a distraction is good. So any arts, I tell people coloring, that's why they came out with all those therapeutic coloring books, because it's a distraction. You're using your mind, you're using your hands. So it's you all in, like putting together a puzzle, things like that. It takes everything, all your senses. You're using everything at one time. So you really don't have time to focus on anything else but what you're doing. So it's a very good distraction and coping mechanism as well.
Meditation also. In the morning. Because since a lot of people think social media is like, has something to do with mental health, I like to tell people to meditate because I think the first thing everybody does when they wake up is check their phone. And like, really, when you wake up, I think your mind, well, at least for the first 10 minutes, you should just get yourself together, you know, brush your teeth, just relax, think about what you want to do for the day. Because I feel like social media can be overstimulated and it can be triggering when you have like anxiety and stuff and people are making jokes about, like, you could wake up and see a joke about mental health and now your whole day just off.
Yeah, so the key is knowing yourself. So if you know yourself and you know what it takes to get you going in the morning, if you take time and learn yourself, a lot of the stuff around you won't affect you as well, because you're for sure about who you are. And if meditation is what you need in the morning, that's what you need. Some people may need that get up and go. So knowing yourself and how you can relate to the things that's going on around you is very important. So self-awareness is on point. So, and it is, sometimes you have to sit back and learn who you are. Because me, I can't meditate. Now I can have quiet time, but meditation, if I get too quiet, I'm gonna start saying, okay, I need to do this paper, the kids need this, I need to go to, my mind start going everywhere. I need to go to the grocery store. I'm working on it though. I am a work in progress about meditation. So being quiet and just letting my mind just be free. A whole list of things, my whole to-do list, check off, come in my head while I'm meditating. So, but it's being aware of that. I know that about myself, so I can work on it. So, and I'm not going to try to do what works for Najlah because it works for her. It don't mean, and I'm no less than the person. It don't work for me. I just have to find another outlet. So knowing your outlets and using them is, because we can have all this knowledge. If we don't use it and put it to practice, it doesn't matter.
I definitely want to piggyback off that because I'm literally the same, Erica. Like, I used to try to meditate all the time, how they would say, and that just don't work for me. But when I did my research, I realized that I meditate in different ways every day. Like sometimes I don't want to hear music in the car, like on my way home from school. So I'll just ride and listen to music. Sometimes when I take a shower, I don't feel like listening to nothing. So I would just be in there and just be silent for a few minutes. Like, but then I actually learned that that's meditating. Just quiet time in general is good for the mind, I think.
Yeah, so that's what I call them. I call them mindful moments. Just take a mindful moment for yourself before a meeting, before a test, when you get home, if it is in the bathtub. If your mindful moment is, I have 3 kids, so if I want to get on social media, I might get in the bathtub, I get my phone out, and I may look, but that's my time. That's just for me. So if you take just some mindful moments, if it's to meditate, to think about something, or whatever it is, just take time out for yourself. Give yourself some self-love, some self-care, because without you, you can't help anyone else.
Thank you guys so much for your advice. Thank you guys for your discussion. I know that somebody is definitely going to eat up all this knowledge and get a lot from this discussion. I really appreciate you, Erica, for coming on here, taking the time to talk to us after work, like a superhero, literally. And then Najlah, I really appreciate you representing Sanity Sistas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Najlah, thank you for creating Sanity Sistas and like coming on here, representing them, and just giving us great tips. Me and Journey and Tori really appreciate both of you. And even though this discussion was amazing, we are going to have to close the show. But like I said, thank you on behalf of Round Table Talk for coming on here. I'm Tatiana Battle.
I'm Journey Green.
Okay. And this is Round Table Talk.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so much.